So yeah, the last little bit for the podcast for all those who are curious and interested in knowing the book the bookmaking process. Can you? I mean, I'm super interested in this. Like, I've only made like one like little book before. It's when I was in art school. This is more or less like a photo book, but you know, it's way different from what you do. And when I was in art school, like one of the things was to like reformat this book, and that was like one of those things where I got really like frustrated, and then I eventually was just like, you know what, I'm kind of done with this master's degree. I'm tired of pouring in all this effort and losing out on family time. So, can you kind of like maybe like break down like your bookmaking process and like where people could go to kind of make something like this? And yeah, there you go for all the people out there. This is Ricky's book. Thank you, skateboarding. It's on Amazon. It's only $10. Please go buy it. It rips. That's your little plug for you. So
Awesome.
people, go out there and buy it. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I appreciate the support for sure. Definitely. So my process with the book industry has been, hold it back up, as I started with a traditional publisher, mainstream publisher for the first 5 books.
How did you? Sorry, how did you even get a publisher?
Okay, so the first one I wrote, I didn't even know I was writing a book until I was more than halfway through. And then once I finished, I realized I'd just written a book. Like, I just wrote a book. Like, I don't know. I have no idea what to do. I don't know. So I went to Kinko's, got like 2 copies, like bound, like spiral bounded from them with some covers on them.
Yeah.
Handed those out to like 2 friends, and they were instantly, like had positive feedback. And in my mind, I quickly thought, well, they're my friends, kind of like what you were saying about people being honest, or what, like telling you, being straightforward.
Yeah.
So then got a few more made, let some people read it that I didn't know, positive feedback. And then I heard something on a radio station about a publisher looking for new authors or whatever. And this was in like before 2000 or 2000, maybe 1 or something. And I ended up calling this place, got the like president or CEO or something on the phone. Like when he picked up the phone, he kind of like you could tell he wasn't trying to pick up the phone. Maybe like a secretary or whoever was trying to call him internally, and he was like, hello, like kind of weird.
Yeah.
So, well, I just went into, I was like, I just wrote this book, I'm calling to see, and just started this whole conversation. We talked for like 35 minutes.
Okay.
And he said, email me the manuscript directly. I'll look at it and then I'll pass it to our acquisitions people, which go through, it's a team of people. They read the book. They decide on the marketability and readability and all these different things.
Yeah.
Anyways, they offered me a contract eventually. And then I just stayed with them for over 10 years. It got to the point after my 3rd book that they gave me an open-end contract that they wanted first right of refusal for all my books. They would essentially do whatever I produced.
What's you said, right or refusal?
Oh yeah, like
What's
they
that?
have the first right, or if they look at any new book that I produce first, and they have the right to it. And if they don't want it, refuse it, basically. So then after the 5th one, everything was going good. I just got this big, like over 1,000 copy order for my 5th book, which is dedicated to youth. And there was a school that wanted it. at the same time, I don't know, I read something somewhere, or I saw a social media post, something about the publisher was going out of business. And then I started to research a little bit and found out that they were kind of involved in some things of like keeping just not things that weren't good, not legit. And maybe like over the years they've been keeping my royalties of stuff sales that I had that I didn't know about.
Huh.
And this was happening multiple times over. So anyway, all of a sudden I found that they were going out of business, and I was able to, like, within a week's time, able to get my rights back from them for all of my books. Now at that point, back up a little bit, if they would have went out of business before I got my rights back, my first 5 books would have been out of print, non-existent. I couldn't do anything. They owned the rights to them,
Oh,
or
wow.
the ISBN numbers and things like that.
Yeah.
So I got all the rights back, re-released those first 5 independently real quick, because I had to get the 5th book in print so that I could fill the order, which was I needed to sustain my life in that process. Because the idea was re-release everything, get that book order, take care of that, start seeking out another publisher, figure it out. In the process of going independent, just to like pivot in that time of like just turmoil or whatever, I fell in love with the process of like independent publishing.
Yeah.
And I fell with like the idea of owning everything, like not because it was let me get some water. It was like a really vulnerable place where all of a sudden 10 years of my work was gone and I couldn't do anything about it. If they would have plunged before I like found out I was able to get the rights.
Right. Yeah.
So as all this happened, I fell in love with that idea of maintaining my rights, started the process and just like educating myself on how to do it. And when I do something independently, I put myself on the same production schedule as they used to put me on. First, you start with the manuscript, right? You enter you finish the manuscript. At that point, when you're done, that's in the form of a Word document.
Mm-hmm.
From after the publisher, whoever you're dealing with, if you're not independent, they decide if they're going to publish it or not. So obviously that's not the case. I'm going to publish my own work. So from there, you turn it. It goes into editing, which I would have I just put a team of people together that I needed the resources. I have an editor.
Yeah.
She works through the work. We go back and forth for however long it takes, several read throughs. Before that, I do like a lot of my own like read throughs and things like that. And then from the editing, it would usually go into 2 departments: cover design and layout, which like I went to YouTube to learn how to do the layout on my own, like watched so many YouTube videos, just hours and hours of YouTube, figured out the layout, have a long time friend that actually has a design agency that does my book covers, or has done several of my book covers just as like a passion project for him.
Oh, cool.
Help out and so it's getting designed, the cover's getting designed, the layout's getting done, and then you go into like your back matter, which is the book description. That's also done with the editor, and then you, of course, you have a lot of like, the design process. It's just do some mock-ups and go through that, like tweaking and improving and that.
So looking at your book, like what program did you use to like edit your InDesign?
Yep, InDesign for the layout, and I'm sure he does the cover in Photoshop and stuff. Yeah. Now that specific book, the spine is the spine of a board.
Yeah, for all you.
Actually a board that I rode.
Oh, cool.
Is a photo of that, and then the grip tape is also a photo of actual grip tape, which is some primitive grip tape and primitive spine.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because I wanted it to feel like a new, fresh board.
Yeah, no, I like
because
that.
we were like, do used grip tape of one you've already used? Like, no, I want it to feel like a freshie to someone. So
Yeah.
then, yeah. Now the actual platform. Hold on, my allergies are crazy right now. So,
Oh, it's okay. We get them here in the desert too. They're flaring.
so then in terms of the platform that anyone uses for like indie publishing, there are so many options out there. There are ones that'll charge you like thousands of dollars to put it through distribution. Actually, they'll do the cover for you, layout, all that stuff. Um, it's like infinite. It's just whichever platform that people feel the most comfortable with.
Yeah.
I specifically go through Amazon, their independent platform. I really like it.
Oh, cool.
Kindle, publishing what it is, and then the back part, like the barcode,
Yeah.
you have to buy that, like go through a third party to get the ISBN number and
Okay.
things like that. So in terms of like price, which a lot of people would want to know, it just depends on where your resources are.
Yeah.
I pay the editor. She's like a third party that I hire through this thing called Upwork, which
Okay.
is like a freelancer platform kind
Gotcha.
of thing. And then I'm very fortunate to have a like just an amazing person that helps me in terms of design. If I didn't have him, I'd have to pay, that would be a big expense as well.
Right.
Or in terms of the overall cost. And then the layout, if I didn't do that myself, it would be a crazy cost.
Yeah. No,
Dude,
definitely.
this is crazy, but hold on, I'm going to show you because this will put it into perspective. So I was funny because my desk is kind of low and I want it to be like more eye level, where I had the camera. So before we got on, I'm like, let me get a box to put it on, and the box I got is this box. I'll show you.
Okay.
This will give if you're viewing, but if you're listening,
Yeah.
you're not going to. So thank you, skateboarding.
Yeah.
I didn't have any plans of showing all this, but since we're talking about so this is the start, like the writing, right? Like journal, I label them, I number them.
Oh,
And
cool.
then, so I like fold the pages
Uh-huh.
of, can you see that? Like,
Yeah.
that's when I'm like writing in my journal, then I'm like, oh, this is for thank you skateboarding. So then I like bring all those together, and then eventually it's like piles of
Oh, dang.
of printing them out.
Yes.
Like, editing. I'll just show you. So it's like.
Oh, this is great. I love sharing the process.
It's like this, just going through printing one at a time, and then once that's solid, it's like just kind of like notes. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then obviously there's like print mock-ups that we do.
Oh, yep.
Like
Cool.
print, and then like proof copies that come in. Just then eventually all that comes together. Like it starts off with journals, piles, and then eventually becomes the book.
Yeah, the end result. How long did it take you to write this book roughly, from like start to like finish?
This one was probably, sorry, let me put this was probably like, dude, this one was fast for me. It usually takes the last two, and this is another thing with independent, it's like,
Yeah.
I got super motivated because I don't have to wait on the publisher to tell me yes or no when they're going to put on their production schedule or whatever.
Yeah.
I did this one writing to the whole thing start to finish probably like 9 to 10 months.
Oh wow.
Um, the last one I did was within a year, and the one before that was also a year. Before that, it was average 2.5 years to three. So, um,
Was it two and a
yeah,
half? Was it 2.5 to 3 when you were working with the publisher?
yeah, start to finish. Like once, sometimes when I would give them the book, it would be another 6 to 8 months before it ever went to press. You know,
Oh,
where this because they have their production schedules, and then they wait for timing on when they release stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, I told my wife with this one, like I'm just rolling up to this like a big set of stairs and I'm just going for it.
oh, yeah.
That's
Just
what I'm
gonna
doing. I
huck,
didn't like
huck it.
and I just went for it. I like when I was done, it's like I just want to get it out there and didn't wait for like timing or a right time to do it or anything like that.
Yeah. Do you like the independent process a lot better than working with the publisher? I mean, I'm sure there might be like pros and cons for each, but
It's,
could you go into that a little bit?
there are definitely pros and cons to each in my experience. What I do miss is the marketing team. Like I would have monthly calls with my marketing rep at the publisher and he would talk about things that they were doing, what I was doing. They would schedule a lot of stuff for me.
Would you do book
So
tours?
yeah, like they would have book signings and things like that at Barnes and Nobles or wherever.
Yeah.
And honestly, I could still set those up. I don't like them. I don't
Yeah.
really. Just to be honest, I got to the point where I started to just feel like it wasn't true to me. Not that I would never do them. It just didn't feel. I did, over a course of 12 years, you do a lot of those. So
Yeah.
it just, and the landscape has changed. There's obviously with social media and different things, there's other ways to get your work out there now
Right.
more so than like sitting at a Barnes and Nobles on a Saturday afternoon and like just sitting there waiting for people to come up. And,
No,
um,
totally.
but so there was that aspect. That I really enjoyed. Um, and also not doing any of the layout and like the cover design. I would say I still had to decide which ones were like approved and not, but I wasn't as involved. But then at the same time, even when I had the publisher, their design team didn't communicate what I wanted to, and I ended up having the same friend that did this book and uh, one, two, three, four. He's done five of my 8 books. Even when I was with the publisher, he did two of them just because it was like, I appreciate what your team is doing, but I'm going to pass this on to my friend because
Yeah,
he
they're
just,
not really like capturing the spirit of the
right,
book.
right. And we've always worked well on creative projects and we really know each other. So it just worked. So honestly, aside from the marketing department, yeah, I mean, I really like the indie thing. I like being able to go on my own schedule and just sort of create it in the exact way that I want to, and not have so much influence, or I'm not gonna say influence because ultimately in the other books I made the decisions, but input into it.
No, totally.
And we're living in a different landscape too with publishing. When I first started, if I said I was an indie author then, I couldn't really get any traction, or there was a bad stigma on it.
Yeah.
A lot has changed in the last several years, especially. So now I'm more. I'm just proud of it. This is not to say I would never go with another publisher again, but at this point, I'm super happy and stoked to just be doing it independently. Now there is a lot more pressure, obviously, when you're
Yeah.
indie. You don't really. you don't have that support team, you don't have other people invest in resources in your project and your and getting it out there and spending money on helping you.
Yeah.
So there's that. They call it independent for a reason, you
Yeah.
know.
How many books of this did you like order to sell? Like obviously that quantity was probably could be significantly different as if you're with a publisher as
Well,
opposed to by yourself.
that's another thing that's great about the where things are right now, and it even changed towards the end with the publisher is things went to print on demand where they didn't even have to order stocks of them anymore. It was just like
Huh.
they could print once it's in the printer's like program or whatever they use. I don't know
Yeah.
um, what that looks like, but once it's there, if you order one, it can print just like that.
Huh.
I try not to fulfill any of my orders. I try to just send everyone to Amazon or BarnesandNobles.com or whatever,
Yeah.
because of that print on demand element where they just print as it's needed, they fulfill as it's needed. I don't touch anything. It's all handled, so I don't have to order 500 books and sit on them and hopes that they sell or whatever.
Gotcha.
Also from for environmental reasons, honestly, like I like that aspect where it's like
Yeah.
only what's being used is being printed instead of like automatically 1,000 books are just out there. Like for example, if they were at the bookstore, Barnes and Nobles, and I've had this happen before when years ago, they'll order a bunch, but then if they don't sell within a certain time frame, they just send them back. So then you just end up with these books, and it's like
Yeah, you're just
the
sitting
only
on
time I,
stock.
yeah, and the only time I have books like kind of you can see over there a little bit is
Yeah.
those are for if it's like a specific school, like those books are designated already to a high school. It's a copy of my fifth book, so
Oh,
that's
cool.
when I'll order like bulk and sit on them when they're intended for certain purpose,
Yeah.
specific purposes.
And are you gonna give those out?
Those got privately funded. Someone bought all of them,
Okay.
and I give them every this specific stock right now will go to every ninth and 10th grader at a high school in Tampa, where the spot is actually,
Oh, awesome.
like same area. So
Cool.
it's no cost to the school.
Yeah.
And then when I would normally get paid to do a talk, or whatever, I'll go for free and kind of do a talk and disperse the books and book signing and stuff like that. It's like a joint collaboration with a private funder to make it happen for the school.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's rad because as a teacher, what do they call them? Uh, Not extracurricularly, but stuff like this is it's not necessarily a line item on the budget for like enrichment activities. There's not a lot of budget in that regard for schools to buy books and stuff. So I
Yeah.
try to meet that need the best I can, and I was fortunate enough to connect with a husband and wife that have a strong passion for youth and giving back, and they really liked the book and wanted to see it happen for more young people to get it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So kind of going back to few, like when you were like writing and it was sort of like your outlet when you were in your darker period. Did you
Uh-huh.
ever like have like any clue? Was it even like a thought that you would be this like published writer?
No, dude, no, not at all. Like I just honestly, when I wrote my first book, I thought that was it. Even then, I was like, oh, okay, cool, I wrote a book. But then I wrote the second one, and at that point, I like, okay, this is something maybe, I'm writing. And then my third book, I had a talk with someone at the publishing place, and they were like, okay, if everyone has one book, but if you write like three books now, this is something a little more serious. You're considered a author, a writer, or whatever. Um,
Gotcha.
So at that, yeah, it's just been this journey, but I never expected it necessarily. But then it got to a point where I went all in on it.
Gotcha.
Like I left sort of the business world I was in, and a bunch of things happened. That's all. Like those are all kinds of their own stories, but it trips me out, and especially now the skateboarding book is because skateboarding did so much for me
Yeah.
in my life and writing has. It's like merging those two together to like take skateboarding and put it into this other craft that I've developed over the years, and like them to be able to have those things together, it touches me. It's just, it really reaches me in a positive way. It's super inspiring. And it's like, it's just all along people have asked me, are you going to write a book about skating? You're right. Like they would, friends especially, when are you going to write a book about skating? And I don't know, man. I don't know when that will be.
Yeah.
But this past year was the time for it to come out.
What was the title of your first book?
You, YOU.
You. Okay. Did you feel like when you were doing your second book, did you feel like more pressure? Did you feel pressure from like the publisher? Because I mean, I haven't read any of your
Absolutely.
like previous books, but I can imagine like you was probably like pun intended you like
Yeah,
like it was
yeah,
like it was a pure form of who you are, as opposed to like, okay, now you've kind of like gone through this process, you've worked with a publisher, you kind of know, you know a little bit more than when you were first into it. So did your second book like reflect you as a person as good, or like how was the second book
yeah,
compared to the first? Because like I think about like I'm gonna like plug in like the music thing, like um I don't know, we can just like, we're just gonna go with Appetite for Destruction.
yep.
Like that thing
Good
was
one.
like raw as you could get.
Right,
Like that
right.
was like that, like that was like the original Five Guys, the purest form of GNR, and then they have their like their follow up teaser of like GNR Lives, which was like half acoustic, half live, which some could consider it the second record, but it's obviously different than the first. So yeah, talk about like the comparison aspect. I'm
Um,
super interested in that.
well, there was definitely more pressure, the feeling of more pressure in terms of the books. One being better or as time has gone on, I think I've gotten better with my voice and finding my own voice as a writer. And of course, if I look back at my second book or first book, I would look at certain things and think, oh, I would probably say that differently, or I could say that much better. Like I could do better. I could recreate that.
Totally.
But each one of them, they were all in their own seasons, like which is weird. Like they just this Thank You Skateboarding is the first one that I wasn't necessarily going through a lot, like internally and like through my own season, whatever season of life it is. Obviously, this is a different season.
No,
They're
I
always
love it.
changing.
Yep.
First one was more like, okay, I've overcome these obstacles, and at that point in my life, I started to do good for myself. I realized like I could believe in myself. I could accomplish things in my life that I never thought I could, like go to college, things where just, in my environment, they weren't reality. They weren't things that people talked about or had hopes for. And so then I like started to reflect on the positive thinking habits that I acquired and developed to be where I was at that point in my life. And I wanted people to see what I did and wanted them to like kind of believe in themselves. Then like the second one was a totally different season. What Really Matters was that title. And I was at a point in my life where I started to do in like my idea really well financially. Things were clicking, like I was buying stuff, property, investments, things of that nature. Thought I had it all figured out. Like I was just focused. I want to be a millionaire. I want to acquire different. I had like this whole plan mapped out.
Yeah.
Then I had multiple people pass away sporadically, people with money, all different types of situations happen. I started looking at my life, how I was spending my life, what I was doing with all my time outside of skateboarding. It was like not skateboarding a whole lot at that season. I just was like diving into whatever, adulthood, call it, whatever, just like doing
Yeah.
something with my life
Yeah.
is in terms of society. And then I realized I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. After I wrote this book, I left a business I was at for like 9 years and lost a bunch of money because I was buying this car dealership, and it was like this whole, like, I was committed. I was in deep,
You were
man. And I
buying
had
a
like,
car dealership?
yeah, dude, I was in the car
What?
business for a long time. Yeah, it was
No
like
way.
I took all, like, I started with the guy, and then I like became partners, and then I ended up buying them out, and it was like this whole, it was crazy. I was like in it, just full on.
Fully
Realized,
committed.
what am I doing? I'm not happy. I just wrote this book, What Really Matters, like what really matters in life, how we spend our time, who we
Yeah.
spend it with. And I was working 6 days a week, like so many hours, just thinking I was doing what would make me successful in society, and realized I wasn't happy. And where, yeah, I thought I would be happy too, like having stuff, but I would buy a new car, wouldn't be happy. I would get stuff, I wouldn't be happy. It was just a cycle, make more money,
Yeah,
still
yeah,
not
yeah.
happy. It was,
Yep.
it.
Yeah, no, that never
So
ending
then
trap.
this trap, dude, cycle. It never ended. And then I left all that, lost a bunch of money. Pretty much everything I acquired, I had to lose to be able to walk away.
Yeah.
And then I wrote my third book, was in a different season. Where did the gift go? Just like wondering how I ever like got so caught up into that programming of thinking that's what I wanted to do when I never even had an interest in any of that stuff.
You just felt like you had
So
to.
just, yeah, the pressure, I guess. And then like the fourth one was Awakening the New You, and that was this process of letting go and non-attachment. I had a sister that OD'd and passed away. I had a close friend that OD'd, and another friend that got murdered, and all these things happened where I was like
Oh, dang.
questioning a lot about life, and like what was going on, and I had to find my peace through that, through writing. And that was an assessment of like finding my comfort in things that I couldn't control.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, man. And then I was spending a lot of time working with youth and like doing talks and stuff. And I wanted to dedicate something to young people so that after I did a talk, they could still have the conversation of positive thinking habits and things I share in the book. And
Yeah.
then the sixth one was Healing the Wounded Child Within. And that was a season where, like, all right, I've developed all these tool sets to work through triggers that I might have from childhood. I like worked on myself a lot, but I feel like I never healed a lot of things. I just figured out how to deal with it. And that was the journey of, that's when I was talking to a therapist where like, I don't want to just be okay with this stuff and manage it. I want to fix it. And that's when
Yeah.
I like healing a lot of like wounded child stuff. And then the one before Thank You Skateboarding is Far From Easy. And that is what it takes to make your dreams a reality, because people on the outside, like, oh, dude, you write books, like you're living this dream and you do all this stuff. But the truth of it is it's been far from easy. Like it's been a really hard journey, like to the point where I have $37 to my name. I don't know where my next money is coming from. I'm like leaving my house, don't have a place to live, like crazy stuff. But
Yeah.
it was for the pursuit of what I'm doing and my passion, and my drive to share and inspire others through my writing. So everyone's been in their own time, man, in their own journey, and like this has just been the Thank You Skateboarding has been uh this new park open close by to the house. And um when that happened, when it opened, like I had never stopped skating completely. I just stopped giving it the time it needed to like be at a certain level, like with your tricks and feel comfortable and
No,
stuff.
totally.
You know what I'm saying? Like you want, so I wasn't, and it would be okay. We're gonna skate every Wednesday, and that would go on for a couple months, and then it would stop, or we're gonna. So it was always these sporadic bursts of it over the years. But
Right.
when this new park opened not too far from me, it's an amazing park. It just has whatever, like just so many different things. And when that happened, I decided to myself, I was 42 at the time, or turning 42. I was like, you know what? I don't even have 42 tricks right now. Not ones that I would like care about. Just, I mean, I like whatever basic stuff. But
Yeah.
so then I challenged myself, like I want to get at least 42 tricks. And when the park opened, I like recommitted 100%. Just like I'm gonna at least spend a couple days building some old tricks back up and like building back up from there. And in that process, I really started reflecting back on skateboarding and thinking about how it's played out in so many areas of my life and helped me in so many areas of my life, and being really aware of ways it was helping me immediately in the moment.
Yeah.
And that just started the journey of writing the newest one, Thank You Skateboarding, as just like my tribute to skateboarding, all the ways it's impacted my life and so many people I know,
Yeah,
and just
definitely.
wanted to put for other people to appreciate and enjoy.
Dang. That's cool. Full circle.
That's what it feels like. It's like a full circle thing. And the response, talk about skateboard community, the response from the skateboard community for the book has been amazing. It's just been like, out of all of my books so far, it just feels, so received, and I'm so humbled and grateful for that. But it does very much feel like this full circle thing. And sometimes I'm kind of like, man, is that my last book? Because it just came full circle for me. Like,
Yeah.
is it? It's not that it is, but it's that, as a creative, you never know when the thing's going to get shut down for a while.
No, totally.
So
The creative life is always unknown.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, it's been a rad experience. It's just been a journey. The publishing process, I've learned so much. And you talk about, the pressure. I think the thing most for me as a writer is, you like pour your heart into something. Like I'm very intimately involved with all of my books because I'm
Yeah.
writing, I'm working through stuff, I'm reflecting, recalling back on memories, and some feel good, some don't feel good, like
Yeah.
just different things. And then you put it together and you put all this work and energy into it, and you release it into the world, and you just hope that it's received.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like this vulnerable feeling. There's a weird, like I've learned over the years, what I go through is like the build up leading up is super amazing, and like, yes, I can't wait, I'm so stoked, I'm like getting done, I'm excited. Then there's this like release phase where it's just kind of like you just feel like this naked. It's like full on vulnerable, where you're just putting it out there, and uh, it's interesting. And then there's like a weird like element of letting go, because you've just worked so hard on something and now you're not working on it anymore. You're just putting it out there. But then that turns into the whole marketing side and all that stuff. But
Yeah. No, that's got to be a trip, and I feel like it's like as you were saying that, I feel kind of like how like people who actually like spend the time and the dedication, at least some brands and companies who spend the time and dedication to actually like making a cool video project
yes,
like
exactly.
worthwhile, instead of just like kind of pumping it out and churning and burning it.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, I feel like the last I don't know, I feel like Green, the America video, did a really good job on like capturing the energy of like Dakota Servold and John Dixon, who are like the
Yeah.
major players in that. And then obviously you got to see like the montage of all the other skaters, which was super cool. But I mean, obviously, like John Miner was still in there a little bit, so you get like a little bit, you get a little sprinkle of his magic. So I don't know, and then yeah, it's probably kind of like the same. I mean, obviously I don't know because I'm not them, but I can imagine it being like kind of a same process, especially too if like the skater actually chose their song.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, which I think is like super important. Which, you know, is a whole other can of worms of like, are music companies even gonna like release the rights to that song? Like, how much money do they want? Blah blah blah. Like, you can imagine it being like a huge headache probably at times. But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed the Green video and just the music that was chosen, the skating, like everything about it to me like oozed cool. So as you were talking about that, I was just like envisioning.
Dude, that's a good connection.
Envisioning Green.
And and also like connecting that to when you get to see one of these finished projects, like the one Primitive did not too long ago, or like whoever. I mean, the videos are just being released all the time, but the short ones are, but not like the full production projects.
Yeah.
What you see this finished product, and it's easy to enjoy it, just like because it takes you on a journey, like with the music of editing, start to finish, how it all flows. But man, the hours behind that, like not even to mention like the craziness of the skating and the sacrifice that the skateboarders put themselves through and the way they push themselves to get these video parts, but then the videoers and everyone there in support staff to document it, to capture these things, and then the editing process and everything in between. It is that like they're so invested in it in so many different ways, and also the financial investment. And then it's this build up of being done and excitement, and then they release it, and
they hope that people are going to be excited about it, or they'll, you know, hopefully gain some new fans and supporters from it.
And in saying that, you know, just a big thanks to all the photographers and videographers and like
everybody working on the back end.
Yeah, man, behind just the people behind what you see, just on all levels in skateboarding, can never give them enough credit.
No, fully
for what they do.
No, yeah, they're the unsung heroes for sure. Skaters Absolutely. Put their life on their line. They do amazing things. I love them all, but yeah, all the people behind the scenes they're equally as important to like the success of a company, I think.
Yeah. And the hype too is like, you know, and I mean, obviously I'm gonna skate on way different levels than these people, but like if I'm working on trying to capture something and get a clip of something or whatever it is, sometimes that person behind the camera is just saying just that right thing to like keep you going. Just a little, one more try, man. You got it this try. Just one more, you got it. And it's amazing.
Yeah, no, they definitely help bring the motivation when the skater might be physically exhausted.
Yes.
They can help.
And just to loop back around, because you asked about like the indie, like the publishing process and stuff. I'm just thinking, you know, I was thinking of the video is to give any advice to anyone. You know, it's the same thing of like when you're depressed of just finding one thing to do. I always say just, you know, people ask me all the time, well, how do you write a book? What do you do? You know, how do I get it published and whatever? I said, just write the book first.
Yeah.
Keep writing every day. And when you have the book done, you'll figure out how to make it work. You'll figure out how to publish. The same thing with any video project or music project or what. Just focus on the craft. Do your thing, and you know you'll figure out the rest. When it's you just take one step at a time.
Yeah, no, definitely. Luckily, we live in an age where we got the power of the internet. And we can got Google and YouTube to help us.
Absolutely. YouTube University. I say it all the time, man.
Dude, those are some prime resources.
I got free physical therapy on YouTube like a month ago or something. I had a pulled muscle and I like Googled the anatomy of my leg and figured out what muscle it was.
Yeah.
And then YouTube, like searched in YouTube, how do you heal that muscle? And I like came across this physical therapist that gave me pretty much a free physical therapy consult. Like he was just told me every exercise I needed to do and everything to fix that muscle, like I was
Yes.
in a physical therapy office. And then
That's
just
so
YouTube.
cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Dang. Yeah. Power of the internet. Kids, don't underestimate it.
To your advantage. Use it for good and use it to your advantage.
Yeah,
The good of
no.
everyone.
Yep, exactly. I love it. Thanks so much for being on here. This has been amazing. Like
Yeah, good stuff.
we could talk more, but we'll talk more at another time. Not on the air. But dude, this was super rad. Thanks.
Yeah. No, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. I love the concept and the podcast and everything about it, man. So keep up the good push.
Oh man, yeah. Feeling is mutual. Like one more time, people. You better go out. You better buy this. Thank you, skateboarding on Amazon. Support him.
Thank you.
It's great. It's a good read, and it's not. It's an easy read too. Like, and I'll say this from my personal experiences of reading. Like, I was never like a super strong reader. I was never a super strong writer. Those have changed as I've gotten older, but yeah, it's a super easy read, and yeah, your voice in it is super awesome. It's great. I loved it. Now that I actually now that I hear your voice, like I can definitely like hear you in this.
Nice.
It's great. I love it.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
And on that note, I prefer to read short books also. Like my attention is much better on like very fluid, fast books. So I write like I like to read, and this one specifically, I really tried to like just shave it down and narrow it down as much as possible, because I'm not saying anything different than most of us don't know or haven't at least thought about one time, but it's just the effort of putting it into words so that people get that outward validation of just how impactful skateboarding is for all of us.
Yeah, no, like having you like said that and having read like a good most of it, yeah, I could definitely, agree with that. It's not like overly wordy or overly done. It's just nice, simple and sweet. It's great.
Love it. Thank you.
Awesome. So, yeah, thanks again, and we're out until the next episode.
I'm Ricky Roberts III, and you're watching 7-Day Weekend.
I love it. We're out until next time. Thanks for listening, everybody, or watching, however you consume.